Hello viewers, Super GT here. So welcome to the very first round of the new FIA Championship. So Exhibition Season 1 of 2019 is now here. You can see who I've signed for. It's Mclaren, which is probably the biggest mistake I've made in my life, because we know that McLaren are constantly shafted by balance of performance. So their cars are really subpar, but that is part of the challenge, I suppose. So this is the first race I'm going to show you. There's going to be two. Okay, so the new rules are basically regarding your points. So in the previous seasons, you could just do as many races as you liked and it would pick your best one. But this time around, you can do as many races as you like out of the 5, but it will just give you the points for the most recent one that you do. So if you get a good score, it's probably worth sticking with it and not doing any more races. If you get a bad score, then you can just race again and try to improve it. So this is the first one, and the fact that I've told you that we're going to do a second race, you can probably tell how this one's going to go anyway. So coming down the back straight, so it's Maggiore, reverse circuit. Now we got a little bit awkward here, as I was kind of hoping that the guy would back out, and he did, but it was quite late, and I was looking at the radar at the same time, and it all got a bit messy. And going down to 7, losing a bit of time, qualifying mid-grid, and then just dipping 2 wheels beyond the curb, and it just absolutely spins your car around, merges the race, and you can see it dropping right down the order, down to 15th eventually, going to the pits at the end of lap 3, going in for the 2-stop race, and then fighting your way back through the people who are doing the 1-stop or who have stopped on different laps. You can see the grip difference here between myself and the Nissan, who I think is on the last lap of his stint. See just how little grip he has on the exit there as he comes out of the turn. Almost zero traction. Coming to the pit lane again at the end of lap 7 for the second stop, and eventually come around to finish in 9th. So not a great result, but you know, not too bad given first race in the new McLaren. And I think one of the main aims is to be the top McLaren in any race I do. Just try to be the top McLaren. Not that there are many people choosing McLaren, but that is one of the aims. 1,090 points, so I think we can do better than that. We go again. But before we do that, of course, we have the return of the meme, the FIA intro. There's the grid for the race. And yeah, starting 4th this time around. Going to try to better our score, but I'll just leave you with the introduction.
Let's go, lose control. Slip aside on the dance floor. Let's go, lose control. 3, 2, 1, drop it.
Steady! No! This is steady. Come on! This is terrible. You got go! Come on! Right. No! Go! Come on! Right. That's not great.
Pass that back.
But just right if you go.
Check out my new favorite channel. As long as I don't hit the sides, I'll be really happy.
Okay, there we go. Let's get this race underway. So on pole position, you can see there the Renault RS. Here I am in 4th place. The McLaren, such a beautiful car. Look at it. Absolutely gorgeous. So 4th position on the grid, a little bit higher than the last one. Although I think the strength of the field isn't quite as high. So I think it's about 1,400 points on offer for a win. And going down to around about 1,000 for 5th. So I need to be finishing at least where I am here, or higher. We are underway here into the first corner. Really difficult corner this. Obviously the circuit, we're going round it backwards. It kind of goes, it flows very nicely in this direction actually, but it is a weird feeling driving it the other way compared to what you know. So the guy in the lead, the Renault, beginning to stretch away already. Now there's a weird dynamic in these races because I've gone with the McLaren, which isn't the strongest car, but the main thing in the FIA is not always just outright results. It's outright results within your manufacturer. So I'm going to try to finish highly out of all the McLarens. Well, basically out of everyone who's chosen the McLaren, I'm going to try to beat as many of them as I can overall in the championship. So we have someone like TRL Lightning, maybe even the best player in the world on this game, who has gone with McLaren. So it's very unlikely I'm going to beat him. But I think the best we can aim for is 2nd overall. We'll have a look at the standings at the end of the video, of course. And we'll monitor that over the course of the season. So that's going to be the main aim for the year, or sorry, for this season, is to place highly within McLaren. So that's one of the reasons I went with them. I do like their cars, plus the fact that not too many people would have chosen them. So we just try to place highly within this brand. So up into third, past the Corvette. So obviously, the Corvette not having a good first lap here. Always a surprise, you know, when someone qualifies ahead of you and then just has a really slow lap. He might possibly be on the medium tyre. So multiple strategies on offer here. So you see in the first race was on the soft tyre and went for 2 pit stops. But after analysing the replay, the leaders in that race went just did 1 pit stop and went soft and soft. So obviously you're going to have to really deal with almost zero grip. It would be like driving on ice on that 5th and 6th lap of the stint. So I think here what we're going to have to do is kind of just as we skip forwards through time, we're going to just kind of analyse what the guys ahead do. So with the German in the lead and the Italian in second, you know, let's see what strategy they go for. If they come in at the end of 3 or 4, then they're doing the 2-stop. If they wait until the end of 5, then they're going for the single-stop race. The tyre wear is such that it does become extremely difficult to drive, and that is one thing though that definitely going to have to improve in the FIA races, and it will improve. You might have seen my recent video, the controller versus wheel comparison on this game, and while the tyre wear is a massive factor in deciding, you know, which is better between the wheel and the controller, much in the favour of the wheel. The tyre wear is absolutely horrible on the controller. So now that I'm on the wheel, this is my first full season in FIA, hopefully that will help. Well, it will help, it definitely will help. So that's a positive at least, the fact that the tyres will go longer, and hopefully now we'll be able to improve our driving ability, whether on poor tyres or, you know, lacking grip overall. That's definitely one of the weaknesses I have had, so that's got to improve. That has to improve in the season. So we'll see what the guys ahead do. As we got to lap 3, the guy ahead with a 1.8 second penalty. So I will just have to keep as close as I can to him. The penalty zone is just in the final sector after the awkward hairpin. So we've got most of the lap to go yet. So I've just got to keep really as close as I can to him. He's got 1.8 seconds. I think he'll probably lose more than 2, and I'm actually less than 1 second behind. So I should, at this rate, go up into second, just as long as I don't make a crucial error. So just hanging behind us is the Mercedes. Mercedes, I think, is a solid choice from the manufacturer. So expecting him to reel me in, maybe at some point. Not too far away, but I think we've done quite well so far. Big gap back to 4th, you might have just spotted, or sorry, back to 5th from 4th. In fact, you can't really see where 5th is on those cameras there. Such is the big gap. So there is the yellow bar filling up. He's going to have to slow down just around this corner, halfway down this back straight. So that's really going to kill his momentum. So we'll just move over, just take as much slipstream as we can before he slows down. There he goes. So we're easily going to go through up into second place. So that's a really good return so far. Driving solidly, not really making too many mistakes, just keeping the car within its limits. And that's something I've definitely been guilty of, and it's very easy to do. It's just try to overdrive the car and maybe just expect too much from it. You know, as the tyres go off, you can't brake as late as you like, or as late as you were braking on the earlier laps when you did have grip. You do have to scale back your ambitions on the brakes and just on the accelerator as well, coming out of the turns. So coming into the hairpin, so it's the second to last turn, and then into the 90-degree right at the end of the lap. So the leader doesn't go in, so we're going to follow him. We're going to stay out as well and try to make this work. Try to make the one-stop strategy work. You can see at the bottom of the screen how bad the tyres are. So the front right, or the right-hand side, I think, slightly worse off than the left-hand side. This is an anti-clockwise circuit, more left-handers than rights. So you're going to suffer more on that side. But fairly even front to back. I'm running, I think it's -3, so brake bias towards the front, which helps balance up that tyre wear and just helps balance the car in the braking zones as well. So at the moment here, 3 seconds behind. Let's just monitor that gap on this final lap here. Who is good on their tyres? through this final lap on this set of tyres. So lap 5 here. So on the 5th lap, things are going to get really difficult. And at the end of the race, you know, we're going to go at the end of this lap, so end of the 5th lap, and then we're going to have to do a 6-lap stint to close out the race. So that final lap is going to be the 6th lap on a set of tyres. It's bad enough as it is here on the 5th lap. So by lap 6, things are going to get absolutely horrible. But of course, we will have less fuel in the car, so things balance out slightly, but not much. So through the awkward corner, I like to call it a hairpin, but it's actually quite an open corner. So I've actually caught up with the leader slightly, down to 2.7. So perhaps I am driving okay within the limits of the car and not really pushing too much. A little bit of oversteer out of the exit of that turn, but keeping the car mostly under control and on the brakes nice and early into the hairpin to make sure we hook up with the apex, and we have just touched the curb there as we come through the final turn. The leader pulls off to the right hand side and I'm going to follow him too, and the Mercedes not too far behind in 3rd place. So here are the McLaren boys. In we go for our one and only pit stop of the race. Off go the old tyres, on go the new, with soft tyres once again. So this is going to be very, very difficult indeed. We could have gone with mediums, but I think typically in this situation I've always seen that just softer tyres just tend to work better. Obviously I will have more tyre wear, but I'll just have to deal with the tyre wear, you know, and just see how it goes. So on this first lap, I think the main thing to work out is what tyres has the leader gone on to. So 2.5 the gap, I've actually reeled him in slightly on this lap and on the previous lap, down to 2.4 already. And if we start catching him very quickly, or at all, then it might be clear that he's on the medium tyre, and already the gap is down to 2.2. So I think it's not, you know, it's not 100% guaranteed, but I think he's on the medium tyre. By the end of lap 7, I think my suspicions have been confirmed by the fact that I have caught up once again. So the gap down to 1 second, or just over a second. So I think it's quite clear here that he is on the medium tyre. So I want to win this race. If I have any ambition of winning this race, I will have to get ahead, maybe build a bit of a gap, and then survive an onslaught at the end when obviously my tyres begin to completely die as we cross the line at the end of lap 7. So 4 to go, 4 laps left in this race, 11 laps in total, and we're on the beginning of lap 8 through the first turn, looking for the apex there, right at the end of that curve. That's where your apex is, on that first corner. And then through the sweeping corners here, really nice to take when you get it dead right. I suppose most corners are quite nice when you get them right, and when you get them wrong, then obviously it all changes. So definitely well within the slipstream range now. Gap down to 0.3. The Mercedes driver behind, 1.4 behind, not too far, just lurking in the distance, not too far away. So if anything goes wrong, then he's there to pick up the pieces. Renault driver goes defensive, goes to the left hand side. He knows that I'm there, and takes quite a shallow line on the exit. Takes quite a narrow exit. Doesn't really get the drive he would have liked. And you don't see this every day. The McLaren Group 3 car overtaking someone on a straight. Such is the weight disadvantage that you normally get in this car. It's not too bad. I mean, this car drives quite well actually, but typically it's not one of the better cars in Group 3 or 4, to be honest. So coming through the S's into the lead, this is where the race could really be won or lost. If I just have a solid couple of laps here, I mean, every lap I think from here to the end has to be a good one. And not in terms of just speed, but in terms of just minimising mistake, minimising wheel spin, and just being clinical, hitting those braking points exactly where I need to, and just not making any openings for this guy to get past. So let's see if he comes back for an instant reply. Perhaps he might try just shadowing me for the rest of the race and just waiting until these tyres get a lot better than mine. So even though my tyres will diminish, I'm still off the softer tyre. So when the grip is there, it's still better grip in a way, but it's just more likely to kind of lose the grip or lose control. So end of lap 8, Renault running slightly wide onto the grass, and the gap just opening up slightly. Mercedes still there, you see a massive gap back to 4th. In fact, you can't even see where 4th is. Such is the gap. I think the 3 of us here are the only 3 to go for single stop. I think the rest have gone for the double, and you see the result of that. Of course, we are going to suffer at the end of the race with really bad tyres, but overall I think it is a couple of seconds quicker just to go for the single stop and you just have to really contend with that tyre wear, which is really, really difficult to do. At this point here, I think this is a solid display so far of just controlling the car and not really overdriving. I think, as I said, that's one of the things I've been doing a lot. Just tipping 2 wheels onto the grass, backing off the throttle to make sure that the car doesn't begin to slide too much. Keeping it all under control. Onto the back straight. Gap up to 0.6, almost 0.7. So the Renault just holding in there, I think. With the medium tyres, of course, he doesn't have as much outright grip, but his tyres will wear out at a slower rate, so he will start coming back at me. Mercedes still there, so it's a three-way race from here, really. I would say the Mclaren, after having driven it in a couple of live streams and etc., is actually a very controllable car. It's well balanced, well poised. I think it's just the power really where it is lacking. But of course, if you can get through the corners quite fine, and that does give you a small boost onto the straights. But of course, on the longer straights, you will begin to suffer, I think. Gap up to almost a second, so things are going well at this point. A little bit late though on the brakes. I think that's probably the first sort of more than minor mistake that I've made. A little bit deep into that turn, lose a couple of temps, bringing back to within slipstream range. Coming into the hairpin for the 9th time of 11 into the final turn then. Quite a difficult turn to get right. Just want to dip 2 wheels in the centre of that curve and it kind of hooks you around quite nicely. So coming down the main straight then. 2 laps left to go. Is this going to go my way or is it not? That is the question on everybody's lips. Of course, all around the world everyone's asking that question. Is Siddiqui going to win the FIA exhibition round 1 at Maggiore? It is literally the most asked question of 2019. It's gone through the first sector here, and I think that gap is coming down slightly, as probably expected. Just having to back off the throttle to make sure we don't dip 2 wheels beyond the curb. We saw it in the first race. Dip two wheels beyond that curb, and you can easily spin the car around. The car not really reacting nicely to grass, believe it or not. Into the big banky boy, get through there just fine. Obviously the camber really helping you to get through that corner. And you see the gap now, very, very close indeed. Well within the slipstream range. Mercedes still there, not too far behind. The gap between myself and the Mercedes has been fairly constant throughout the race. So I think we're probably on exactly the same strategy at this point. And I think it was actually a good decision to go onto the soft tyre. Perhaps if I went onto the medium and matched the German in the Renault, I think things would just, I probably wouldn't have caught up. I think we were evenly paced on the soft tyre. And if he went on the medium, I had to go softer to try to at least catch up and give myself a chance. You see just how close he is, right behind, less than a car length behind. And I think that is going to give me the warning signal here. As we look behind, I'm going to have to go slightly defensive and obviously reel in our braking point here, because we made a mistake on the last lap around. Keep it nice and tight, nice and tidy. Tyre wear is okay. Well, I say that it's really not okay at all. It's actually very, very bad. But still driving within the limits. You see on the radar, he's almost poking his nose into the inside line, but just about keep him at bay. Sliding slightly out the final turn as we cross the line to begin lap 11 of 11. One more left to go. That last lap was just over 2 minutes long, and this one's going to be presumably slower as those tyres get even worse. So 1 lap left to go. So just have to keep my cool here and just keep it on the racing line. And just make sure it doesn't really have any openings to go through for a move. He will presumably have better brakes though, so even if he is a bit further back, he can still definitely go for the move. Go for the late lunging move. There's probably not much I can do about it, given my lack of front grip. So through the downhill S's, very tricky corner to get right. Ideally you want to kind of graze 2 wheels on the grass on the first left. Not quite capable of that this time around. Into the bank's corner, and we hit the apex quite nicely. So you can see here, just driving really within the limits of the car, and not really trying to go beyond it too much. Very clinical performance, I would say, so far. As we have half a lap left. Under pressure from the Renault, still lurking very, very closely indeed. I think he's waiting for the exact prime opportunity to go for the move. As we come through the S's, very fast sweeping corners here. Mercedes still very close indeed. As we come through, just hooking up with the curves very nicely. And on the exit here, this corner can get really tricky, especially with that curve there. And we've got a little bit of a slide on. As we come out of the corner, he's got onto my left-hand side. As we go into the long left-hander, a bit of contact. I'm going to have to go wide. I think if I had fought that one, it would have spun the car around. and he's actually got himself a 3-second penalty. And the Mercedes has gone through. I'm down to 3rd position after leading with just barely a third of a lap left to go. Down to 3rd position. Is there a chance of perhaps recuperating a position here, or recovering a position? I'm not sure there is. Maybe from the leader who has got that penalty. It looks like the Mercedes, after lurking in the distance for so long for the entire race, is going to come through and actually beat me after all of this. So actually well raced from him, I suppose. Are we going to be able to beat the Renault, who has that 3-second penalty? As we come up to the line, there is the checkered flag. So as we cross the line, I am going to get the 2nd place. The Mercedes wins the race, and the Renault down to 3rd. Wow, what an exhilarating finish to the race. It got a little bit untidy between the two of us there. But let me know your thoughts on the race and the incident there. Well done to the Mercedes for just kind of lurking there and getting the job done right at the end. So that was a good race. I really enjoyed that, and I think it was a really good performance as well. Really pleased with the performance, and the German wasn't too pleased about the incident. I watched it again, and it's really hard to decide exactly, because okay, he thinks I turned into him on purpose, but at the same time, you could look at that both ways. He kind of turned and hit me wide, but then at the same time I gave him a car lip. I gave him more than a car whip. It was quite a tricky corner as well, because you do have to take a kind of narrower line to get through that turn on the brakes, otherwise you will slide wide, but that's the way it goes sometimes. It was still a really good performance. I'm still pleased with the performance. There are the standings. I'm in 6th place for McLaren, but I think the main aim here is just to get as high as we can, maybe within the top 3 for McLaren. That'd be a really good result. And we're not going to beat Lightning, but maybe getting 2nd or 3rd would be good. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. Tune in again very soon for the next FIA race. I hope you enjoyed it. I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.